You know that feeling when you find the perfect place? That's exactly what happened when I discovered this incredible 20-acre property. Picture this: towering pine trees, absolute tranquility, and right there in the center, a breathtaking freshwater lake that looked like something out of a postcard, I'm telling you. I could already see my future, peaceful mornings with my fishing rod, my grandchildren learning to swim in those crystal clear waters, and cozy evenings around a bonfire. This wasn't just property. This was my slice of paradise. But let me tell you something. I learned the hard way. Sometimes the most beautiful dreams attract the ugliest people. Enter Linda, and trust me, you're going to remember this name. She was the self-proclaimed queen bee of the neighboring homeowners association, and she had this way of looking at you like you owed her something. The moment I pulled up with my truck and trailer full of lumber, I just wanted to build a simple fishing dock, nothing fancy. Linda came marching across my property line like she owned the place. No knock, no introduction, just pure entitlement with a clipboard in her hand. "Excuse me," she said, pointing at my lake like she'd personally filled it with water, "but that lake doesn't belong to you. It's community property." I actually chuckled. I mean, how do you respond to something that ridiculous? "Ma'am, I appreciate your concern, but I have all the paperwork. This lake is part of my property. I bought it fair and square." You should have seen her face. Her jaw tightened like someone had just told her Christmas was canceled. "We don't accept that. Our residents have established rights to this water." Now here's the thing about me. My father raised me to know exactly what I own and to protect it. I had the surveyor maps, county records, and a stack of legal documents proving this lake was 100% mine. But Linda, she just stared me down and said, "We'll just see about that," before stomping away like a toddler having a tantrum. That evening, I sat on my porch with a cold drink, watching the moonlight dance on the water. I couldn't shake this feeling. In my gut, people like Linda don't just make empty threats. They escalate, and boy was I right. 3 weeks later, I heard a knock that would change everything. A process server stood at my door with a thick envelope that felt heavier than it should have. "You've been served," he said, and handed me papers that made my blood run cold. HOA was suing me for ownership of my lake. According to their claim, they had historical rights to the water. But here's where it gets really ugly. They'd attached what appeared to be official deeds and signatures from decades past, supposedly proving the lake belonged to their subdivision. I'm looking at these documents, and something felt wrong. Really wrong. The fonts looked off, signatures seemed suspicious, and the dates didn't match up with when the subdivision was even built. I drove straight to the county recorder's office with these papers. The clerk, this sweet lady named Margaret, who'd been there for 30 years, took one look and shook her head. "Oh, honey," she said, pointing to one of the signatures. "This gentleman they claim signed this document? He passed away 5 years before this supposed signing date." It hit me like a punch to the gut. Forgery. Linda hadn't just lied, she'd committed a serious crime. I thought surely now, with proof of their deception, the HOA would back down and apologize. But I underestimated just how far Linda was willing to go. The following weekend, I woke up to the sound of construction. When I walked down to my lake, I couldn't believe my eyes. The HOA had built an entire dock system jutting out into my water, complete with benches, ladders, and even a flagpole with their association banner waving in the breeze. Families from the subdivision were lounging on my shoreline like they owned it. Kids were jumping in the water, adults were fishing with my fish, and someone had even set up a barbecue grill. I marched down there, my heart pounding with righteous anger. "You need to get off my property right now." Linda stood on that dock, like the queen of the world, arms crossed, with the smuggest smile I'd ever seen. "This is community property now. The documents prove it. You can't do anything about it." But she was wrong about one thing. I could do something about it. I was about to show her exactly what that looked like. By midsummer, the situation had exploded. What was once my peaceful sanctuary had turned into a war zone. The HOA began charging their residents lake access fees, money Karen pocketed while trash piled up on my shoreline. They held weekend barbecues on the dock, blasting music until midnight. And when I called the sheriff, Karen waved those fake documents like a golden ticket. "We have legal rights." She'd sneer. "It would have been laughable if it wasn't destroying my property." The water turned murky from constant swimming. Beer cans floated along the banks, and someone even spray-painted the rocks near the shore. I wasn't the only one furious. My neighbors outside the HOA were sick of the traffic and noise. But they were afraid to confront the HOA board. Not me. I filed a lawsuit demanding a cease and desist order. My lawyer was a grizzled old bulldog named Frank, who'd fought tougher cases than this. "They're hanging themselves," he growled, flipping through the forged paperwork. "We just need to let the rope tighten." Meanwhile, I decided to fight fire with fire. Every time they set foot on my property, I filmed it. Every forged document copied and notarized. I even set up trail cameras around the dock. One night, those cameras caught something shocking. Karen herself, under cover of darkness, sneaking onto the dock with a hammer and nails altering dates and signatures on physical documents she'd left in a waterproof container. It was the smoking gun. The next morning, I walked straight into the sheriff's office with the footage. "This isn't just trespassing," I said. "This is fraud." And that's when things started unraveling for Karen. The day of our court hearing, that courtroom was packed tighter than a Christmas service. HOA residents filled one side, shooting daggers at me with their eyes. My supporters' neighbors who'd finally found the courage to stand up filled. The other side, Linda walked in wearing pearls and that same smug expression, carrying herself like she'd already won. But arrogance has a way of crumbling when it meets the truth. When Margaret from the county recorder's office took the stand and explained how the documents were forged, pointing out the impossible dates, the traced signatures, and the counterfeit seals, I watched Linda's confidence start to crack. Then came the video footage. The judge leaned forward as he watched Linda tampering with evidence in the dead of night. You could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. "This," the judge said in a voice that commanded respect, "is not only criminal trespass but clear evidence of deliberate document fraud." Linda's attorney tried to make excuses, but it was too late. The judge brought down his gavel with authority. The lake belonged entirely to me. The HOA had zero legal rights to it. The dock must be removed immediately. At the HOA's expense, but then something happened that shocked everyone in that room. The county sheriff walked over and placed Linda in handcuffs. She was being arrested on charges of forgery, fraud, and criminal trespass. The look on her face, that arrogant smirk, replaced by pure panic, was something I'll never forget. She wasn't walking out as the victor she thought she'd be. She was leaving as a convicted criminal. After Linda's arrest, the HOA completely fell apart. Residents were furious that their fees had funded her illegal scheme. The dock came down piece by piece, and slowly my shoreline began to heal. I spent weeks cleaning up the damage, hauling out trash, treating the water, and restoring the natural beauty that had drawn me there in the first place. When I finally cast my fishing line into the calm lake again, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Genuine peace. The legal system worked exactly as it should. Linda was sentenced to jail time and ordered to pay full restitution. Seeing someone who had acted so entitled and untouchable facing real consequences, it restored my faith in justice. Word of the case spread throughout our community. Neighbors who had whispered about the crazy lake situation now stopped by to congratulate me. Some even confessed they'd been intimidated by Linda for years. But nobody had ever stood up to her before. As autumn painted the trees around my lake in brilliant colors, I'd sit on my rebuilt dock with my morning coffee, watching the mist rise off the peaceful water. The lake was mine again, not just legally, spiritually. Sometimes I think about Linda, serving her sentence and facing the consequences of her choices. And I smile because no matter how loud or entitled someone might be, the truth has a way of rising to the surface. My lake is safe. My peace is restored. And Linda. She learned the hard way that you can't steal someone else's dream and call it your own.